Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to one more Fluent Live. I am live and I'm here to teach you and help you to reach real fluency, become fluent for real, and speak English with confidence to develop your career in 2023, right? So if you are looking for that, you want to be fluent for real, if you want to speak English with confidence, this is the place for you, all right? To open doors in your career for any professional challenge that you want to face, that you want to have. So welcome, I'm Renata. In case you don't know me, we're always, receiving new followers here on Instagram and on YouTube. So welcome aboard, everybody. And I decided to open this class and actually do something. One of my favorite topics to teach, one of my favorite classes, the perfect family class. We are going to be talking about the present perfect, the past perfect, the future perfect, and when to use each of them to finally understand the usage and to finally feel the confidence that we need to use those topics at a meeting, in professional interactions, and not feel afraid, because I know you understand when someone uses them with you. I know that you understand when you listen and when you hear someone say and use one of those verb tenses. But what do I want from you? I want you to actively use that, access that knowledge that you have and use it, okay? Hello, Luciege, good to see you too. Hello. So, hello, gold diggers that might be watching, that might be following me here. Over on YouTube and Instagram, I will try to give you guys the same experience because Instagram is not as fun to work with as YouTube is, because it doesn't allow me the same tools, all right, as I have on here on Zoom/YouTube. But I have the images and I have the data, the visual aids ready for both platforms. Let's see how things go. So first things first, I will start to share my screen here over on YouTube so you guys can see what I am referring to and see what I'm beginning with. We are starting off with our good friend, past perfect. And this class has a theme to it. The perfect family, the royal family is the perfect family to many people. When we look at them, we think, wow, those royals, they have it easy. Their lives are perfect. It's all about, fun. It's all about luxury. They don't have to lift a finger to do anything. And they are perfect people, polite people, right? That have no flaws, and they never have a piece of lettuce between their teeth, So the perfect family, I'm using the royal family to explain how I see the perfect family, the present perfect, the past perfect, and future perfect. Simple, all right, simple. So if you guys want to go to YouTube, go there. The experience there might be better, all right? Let me see here that I am also live on YouTube for the folks on Instagram. So you guys can just go look it up, look us up there. Fluent for Real, at Fluent for Real. So you guys can simply go and have a better experience or not. Okay, Instagram, I love you, Instagram. Don't just, don't kill my reach because of that. So anyway, let's begin from the past perfect. This is, if you guys watch The Crown, that is King George VI, who was Queen Elizabeth's father. So he represents the past because, when up to last year, he was the previous king. And then we had Queen Elizabeth and then now King Charles. So the past king, the past perfect is all about actions in the past. And it's all about demonstrating that something happened before something else. Why is the past perfect simple so important when we are trying to communicate at work? Imagine that you are trying to tell a story, explain what happened, in a complex timeline between, I don't know, your communication with a supplier and what happened there, and then you sent him an email, but then before you sent him an email, something else had happened that he didn't know about, and then there was some kind of miscommunication between the first email and the second email, you know? So sometimes it can be confusing to explain when two things happened, one before the other, especially if you need to go back to before what you were actually talking about. And we don't really realize that so much when we are using the simple past for everything, but for the listener, it can be very confusing. So, example sentence here. When I arrived at the cinema, the film had started. I want to show that the moment I arrived, the film was already happening. When? Before that. So before I arrived, the film had started. That's what I am detaching the two moments. When I use had started and then I say arrived, I am telling you, hey, two things happened. Another simple example, if I tell you that I didn't have dinner at my friend's house because I had dinner, you're like, wait, you didn't have dinner? You had dinner? I don't understand. It's not clear. But if I simply say, I didn't have dinner at my friend's house because I had dinner, you go, oh, okay. So the whole film, you know, just pops in that person's head. Oh, so before you left to your friend's house, for your friend's house, you ate dinner. And then when you were there, you weren't hungry, so you didn't have dinner. When you put the timeline in a chronological sequence, it's easy. But when you don't, it's complicated. So past perfect enters in that situation and helps you communicate when the moments are different, when what happened before what, without having to say before this, that happened. Before that, before I left for my friend's house, I ate dinner. So, you know, so it is really helpful. And it's one of those verb tenses that you can go without if you are okay with the okay English, with the basic English. If you don't have so much trouble and you don't need a level of complexity in your communication at work, you know, such as this, then you can live without it. But if you need English to communicate in the same level of your competence, you are experienced, you are competent, you go into deep levels of interaction and conversation at work. And that kind of interaction requires a certain level of English. So this is a verb tense you need to master, all right? So that's how, that's one example sentence. Now I want you to use your voice. Repeat the sentence with me to get used to the sound of had started, right? The had and the verb. When I arrived at the cinema, the film had started. Use your voice. Okay, good. So the next slide, oh my God, how old am I? The next image will tell us about, yes, the timeline here. That is visually the timeline of the past perfect. We're going to see all of them to compare, okay? See, the film had started, and then I arrived, and then now. Important. There is no connection with the present. When I'm using past perfect, I am describing situations, describing things that happened before now, and nothing is happening. There is no consequence to the present. I am ignoring the present. I am talking about the past. Keep that information with you because I will explain to you, how it happens and why this is important, all right? Hi, Macarelli, welcome aboard. Hello, Ellen. Hello, Carol. I see some familiar faces here on Insta. Okay, so keep that information up. No connection to the present. So all I have here is had started. The movie had started. And then I arrived. And now. Now is there just for you guys to visualize the timeline, okay? Oh, first time here, Mark. Welcome aboard. So that's it for the past perfect. Can you see now in this next slide that if you think about it, the only information that you have about the action is the reference that I arrived. And then before that moment, the film had started. That's the only time feeling, that you have about that sentence. Yeah, I'm not talking about last night at 8 p.m. I'm not saying this morning. I'm not saying 2 weeks ago. There is no specific time, and it's not necessary, all right, to have that. The only reference of time is before something. Sometimes it's not in the sentence, okay? Sometimes it's in the context of the situation. For example, when I said I didn't have dinner at my friend's house because I had had dinner. I don't have to say before, blah, blah, blah. It's implied. That's the beauty about past perfect. It's one of those verbs that without any necessity of extra words to explain the time, you just get it. One verb that works like that too is the present continuous. If you say, I'm working, you don't need anything else. You understand that it's now. If I say, I didn't have dinner because I had had dinner, you understand that it is before I went to my friend's house. Okay, automatic. That's the beauty of the complex verbs that go a little beyond sometimes, right? This is the beauty of this one specifically. So that is the reference that you have. No precise time. The reference is before I arrived. That's all you know. And that's all you really need to know. So there is always a clear past context or a clear, let me show you guys here on the screen. There is always a clear past context or past moment when you use past perfect. Otherwise, if there is no necessity for that second action in the past, if you don't need to show the two moments to express that something happened before the other, you just use simple past. That's it. You don't need to complicate your life or present perfect. So in that case, why didn't you have dinner at your friend's house? Because I had already eaten. That's it. Then you need to say that because you need to demonstrate that before you went to your friend's house, you had eaten. If you just say, because I ate dinner, they will go like, I don't understand. All right. So when it's necessary, it's really necessary, but many times it's not. All right. So thinking about a work situation, for example, you could say, hey, why didn't you pay the supplier on the 5th? And then you can say, because I paid him. Because I had already paid him. Okay, I had already paid him. I had paid him 2 days before. So on the 5th, which was the date that I was supposed to pay him, I didn't. Why would I pay twice? Okay, so you will show with this more abstract complex verb tense that the timeline is detached. One happened before the other. That's the past perfect simple, our King George VI, the past of the past. Now, moving on then to the present perfect simple. Have done, have seen, have arrived, have worked. That's the present perfect simple. Have, because the verb, the auxiliary verb is in the present. Okay, have, not had, have. But the second verb is the same, all right? In case you're wondering if you forgot the formula, because here the focus of this class is to explain the difference when you use them, all right? But in terms of structure, that's the only difference. I say I have done for present perfect, okay? And I say had done for past perfect. Only the auxiliary verb changes, but the other verb is always the same, which is what we call that third column, you know, go, went, gone, see, saw, seen. This is the verb that we're going to use in the perfect family, because they're so perfect, you know. They require very, very fancy, chic verbs. So moving on then to the present perfect simple. Present perfect simple, represented by Queen Elizabeth, is a verb tense that in the simple form, we are talking about the simple. I have done, I have been, I have seen, I have worked, okay? Not I have been working, I have been doing. That's another class because the ideas change, all right? So we are talking about I have done, I've worked, I've seen. etc. So the example that we have on the screen is, I've been to Europe many times. Repeat with me, use your voice, okay? I've been to Europe many times. That is one of the main ways that we can use this verb tense, and very useful. The idea of present perfect, okay? Hear me out now. Hear me out. The idea of present perfect is to demonstrate when an action happened in the past. I know the name present perfect doesn't help much. It confuses us. But the idea is, I want to tell you that I did something. I want to tell you that I did something in my life. I have that experience in my life. I want to tell you that I did it many times, and I don't want to tell you when. Because what is the background of present perfect is some kind of time length that is still happening. Now, follow my lead here. This might be changing. This might be a little life-changing for some of you. Okay, Marco, great example. I've been to Egypt many times. Cool. Have you? That's really cool. In your life today, you're talking about your life. When did those trips to Egypt happen? In your life is a mixture of present and past. Your life has so many moments in the past, and it still has many moments in the present. So when the moment you are talking about is still happening, is still alive, for example, your life, then we use present perfect. I've done that many times in my life. So every time you think about life experience, I've done. Never I did. Work experience, you are at a job interview and they ask you about experience, about maybe, I don't know, what you have accomplished, what you have done in your life, and you're like, you know what, I have worked for many years in a company that blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get into details. I'm not going to explain to you when you can also use simple past, because that is usually where we tend to stop in the comfort zone and use simple past. And I want you to see the opportunities to get out of that comfort zone and use present perfect. But just so you can understand, sometimes both can be used. I can say I did or I've done, and it really doesn't matter. And sometimes the only option is present perfect to express a certain idea. Okay? Now let's think about all of those situations where present perfect can be used. Stop thinking about like, oh, but can I say I did? Can I use simple past? I want you to stop using simple past for everything. I want you to use present perfect to make your English more clear cut. That's one of the pillars of our method. Your English needs to be correct, accurate, clear cut, and elevated to open any doors at work, to open any doors professionally speaking. So this is what we're talking about, okay? When you can and when you should use present perfect. So thinking about that, life experience. I have done something many times in my life, or once, okay? One time, all right? Twice, 3 times. One question popped the other day in one of my classes. The students were confused about, I have worked and I have been working. They said, oh, but if I say I have worked at a company for 10 years, that means I am talking about a past experience. Not always, okay? Not always. You can, if you include the preposition, you can bring it to the present. But I will leave that explanation for another class because of the idea of connection with the present. That's another idea, okay? So we'll stick to this one now. Experience. I have done this many times. Do you know when? Once again, it doesn't matter when you went to Egypt, when those trips happened. The precise time is not in the game. We are not referring to yesterday or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, or in 2000, in 2002, in 2005, then 2017. If I need to show you and demonstrate the precise time, I go back to simple past. Okay? Example. Oh, Marco said, I've been to Egypt many times. Experience. Life experience, repeated action. I don't know when. And then I want to know more. Really, Marco? I ask him, when did you go? How were those trips? I go to simple past because I'm going to get details from each experience. And then I ask him the simple past. He tells me, well, the first time I went was in 2000. Egypt was a very different country comparing to today. Egypt was blah, blah, blah. I was absolutely stunned by the pyramids, by the Sphinx, by, you know, the constructions, etc. So he's going to tell the story, tell me when that happened in the simple past. But when he shares that experience, I've done this. I have this experience, all right? So life experience, present perfect. And you do not ever prohibited, very important. You never, ever, ever say when that happened. If you say, sometimes I see a mistake, like this. I've been to that, I don't know, maybe that office. I've been to the headquarters of my company in Geneva. Okay, that just came up. In Geneva, last year. No, you stop there. I've been to the headquarters of my company in Geneva. I was there last year. I went there last year, okay? So if you want to say when, all you need to do is say that you did that last year. You did that 2 years ago. Do not define the time when you're using the queen, present perfect. So some general time contexts that help us understand. Associate life experience with present perfect, and you will define, you will start to use that more frequently, and not just when you say, I've been working at my company for 5 years. That sentence to me sounds like you memorize that sentence, and that's the only sentence that many people can actually use present perfect or present perfect continuous. So yeah, I've been working, or I have worked at my company for 5 years, but I don't see, you know, any other situations and people using present perfect in other situations besides that. You can, all right? I want you to feel comfortable to use when. Every time you are expressing life experience in general, when you think about a recent action in your life, okay? Recently, just. If you think recently, boom, present perfect. All right? You can, like, without a doubt, trust me, put it on my account, you know, if you're scared, if you think you're making a mistake, you say, but Renata told me to do that. So recently, remember, not last year, yesterday, 2 hours ago, just the idea of recently. You can say recently, you can say just, and you go. Example, I have just given my baby a bath. I've just given him a bath. He doesn't need another one. Why not? Because I have just given him a bath. I've just paid the supplier. No, it's not time to pay him again. Look, I have just sent you the contract. So, hey, Renata, where is that contract that I was expecting last year? Well, actually, I have just sent it to you. Didn't you receive it? Let me check. All right. So I have just sent it to you. Use your voice now. I have just sent it to you. Maybe you want to check with someone. Hey, did you receive the email? That email from, you know, with the contract? I've just sent it to you. Or you can say, have you received that email? I've just sent it to you. All right. So recently, until now is also another great idea. Every time you think about until now, until this moment, you can think about present perfect. That question is actually a good one. I can ask, have you received my email yet? The idea is yet here. Until this moment, have you received? Well, actually, I haven't received your email until now. I'm expecting your email, you know? So this until now is usually related to expectations. So have you received my email yet? You don't have to say yet, okay? But it's implied. And the person says, I haven't received your email yet. Okay, so let's use our voices. Repeat with me. Have you received my email yet? Okay, or have you received my email? I haven't received your email. Until now, that's the idea. I'm expecting it. I'm sure it will come. You will send it to me either way. If I haven't, you will try again. I mean, so it's not natural or idiomatic to say, no, I didn't receive your email. It's natural. What comes out? Until now, I haven't. Until this moment, I haven't. All right? Or I have. Ellen is sent here. I've lived in Europe. I'm living in Europe since last year. Is that correct? Hey, you can say, I have lived in Europe since last year. That's correct, Ellen. I've been living in Europe since last year. All right? I'm living in Europe now. Your focus is now. When you say I am living, and when you include since, you are stretching the past and including the past. So past and present together, present perfect. All right? Continuous in that case. So I've been living and I've lived. So yeah, so until now in my life. All right, so more examples here. Have you received my email? Repeat. Until now. I haven't talked, have you seen John? Repeat. Today, until this moment, have you seen John? I haven't seen him. Recently or until now. That's the idea behind the question. That's the idea behind the answer. I have worked in large corporations all my life. Life experience in general. I have worked in large corporations before or all my life. Okay, those words are allowed. When I say before or all my life, it's okay. I cannot say yesterday, last year, 2 years ago. Water break. So that's the present perfect. I would say that present perfect is considering the three out of the three perfects from the perfect family. Present perfect is the one that you will be using the most. So try to find now, think about your everyday life at work, the situations that you can think of when you see until now, recently in my life. What kind of interactions do you have? What kind of questions do you ask your peers, your workmates, your boss, your team? What kind of questions do you ask them that have that idea of recently or until now? Because, we always we want the updates. We want to know if there, have been any changes. We want to know if they have answers to previous questions. So think about one question or one answer that you give, including one of the ideas, until now, recently, and in my life. Preferably, try to do one sentence with each. Okay, send that sentence in the comments, on Instagram, on YouTube, work on that, save that in your little notebook, because the more you connect with your necessity, with your personal needs, your professional needs, the better. Okay, that's the exercise that I want to ask from you. Try to do that now. Okay, until now, I have done this. Let's say that this week, you have something important that you're doing. You have either finished that, okay, it's complete. So you can say, this week, so far. You don't have to say this week, not to confuse you, but the idea would be like, until now, I have done 80% of my plans for the week. I have finished this report. I have sent the answer to that client. And I have replied to that client with the answer that he had asked for me, blah, blah, blah. Think about this week so far until now. What have you done? And maybe also what you haven't done that you need to do. Until now, well, today's Friday, I have not finished, let's say, preparing my presentation, which is due, on Monday, and I'm a little scared because it's going to be a little complicated. So I have not finished my presentation that is due on Monday. Okay, think about the things you have done until now and things you haven't done until now. Bigger things. Okay, if you want to send it in the comments, I will be taking a look here, okay, over on Instagram and also on YouTube. So one more example that I want you to write in the comments with recently. Getting out of this week, thinking about, let's say, the last month. You are not going to say last month, just to give you a more direct context to think about the sentence, because I know sometimes creating sentences is not so easy. So consider last month. What have you done last month? Something that you're proud of. Maybe a small change in your life, maybe a small change of habits, maybe a small realization. What have you done recently that you are proud of? What have you done recently that you are proud of? At work, in your personal, habits, personal life, what have you done recently that you're proud of? Make a sentence with that. And not just write that sentence, use your voice. All right? Example, in the last month, I have started to organize my routine in a more rigid way. I have decided and I have planned when and what time I will be doing each thing, like a schoolgirl. When you're a child and you have like days and times for everything, math class, and then you have homework, do the homework, that kind of discipline. That I have done that in the last month, and it has helped me organize my life better. Work, baby, work life, the famous work life balance. Recently, that's something that I'm proud of, that I have done. What about you? And in your life, in general, maybe the greatest experience that you have had in your life, maybe the greatest trip you have taken in your life, professionally speaking, the greatest accomplishment that you have had in your life. Maybe don't tell me when. Remember, don't say when that happened. You're just going to talk about the experience. Example, I have been promoted after only 3 months in the job. That was a great accomplishment for me. I have been promoted after only 3 months in the position. That's it, the experience. I know that it happened at some point in your life, and you don't have to tell me when. I mean, using present perfect, you don't tell me when. You're focusing on the action. And if you want to tell me more about it, then you go, yeah, so when I was 25, I was working at this company and they gave me the job of this. And then I did so well. I did such a good job that only 3 months later, they promoted me. I got a raise. I got this and this and that. Okay, so you start to tell me the story in the simple past, but you present the story to me with present perfect because you're focusing on life experience and the action. Okie dokie. Now we are moving on to the last member of the perfect family, the future perfect. Now, these analogies, and stay with me, all right? Because I will give you a mini quiz at the end of the class where you will be trying to do the opposite. I will be giving you guys the tip, and you're going to be using the recalling technique to remember and to test if you learned what I explained today. So we're moving on now. Before we move on, we finished 3. The future perfect. The future perfect simple, which is illustrated here by Prince Charles, who is now King Charles. He was the future of monarchy. Now he is the present of monarchy. Oh, too bad. Bettinha is, in heaven right now. But he was the future of the monarchy. There he is. What is the future perfect simple? Why, Renato? Why do I need to know this? Can't I just say will for everything? I will do this. I will do that. No, I mean, you can. If you don't need English to open your doors professionally, if you don't want to take your English to the same level of your competence, because I know you work really hard, you dedicate so much time to your work, you invest so much there, and I know you want to have your competence flow through your communication through your English as much as you do in Portuguese. So that's what I'm here for. The future perfect simple is important in the sense that we focus on after the action is complete. Let me give you an example. Look at the screen there, okay? By the end of the week, I will have visited 5 countries. Let's, suppose that King Charles is on a tour in Africa. He's visiting some countries there, going around, visiting. And then in a week, he's going to visit 5 countries. So I can say that next week, King Charles will visit 5 countries. That's okay. But my focus is on the future, next week. But then you tell me, hey, why don't we invite King Charles to come to Brazil? Let's invite him to visit Brazil. He hasn't been here in, I don't know how many years, if he has ever. And then his assistant will tell me, I'm sorry, Renata, but by the end of next week, King Charles will have visited 5 countries. So he will be really tired. So he wants to focus on the end of the week. And he wants to tell me about before that moment, what he will have completed, what he will have done. So we are trying to bring ourselves into that moment after the trip. And that moment is our reference. And then we're looking at the past. Can you see that it's a difference in perspective? Instead of looking at next week, I am looking at next Friday, on Friday, and I'm looking back at the week going, you know what? On Friday, he will have visited 5 countries. He can't go to Brazil. He will be very tired. He will have visited 5 countries. So we are focusing on the action that is completed or complete before that specific time. So if someone asks you right now, that's a question that is important information for you. Imagine that you are at a job interview and you don't feel, or they don't feel, that your English is enough for the job position. And they are asking themselves, hey, is Ana, is Camila, is Robinho ready for this? Are they going to invest in their English? And you can tell them, for example, that you are studying really hard to improve your English. And you expect that by the end of the semester, you will have finished an English course that will give you the tools to perform excellently in that position. So see, you're not telling them, yeah, I'm studying English. You're telling them by June or by July this year, I will be ready because I will have finished an English course that I am studying right now, and I will have completed that task in order to be ready for the job position that you need me. So can you see how you're changing? The same thing happens for example, someone that is still in college and they want to be contracted by a company. So they ask you, look, you are still, you're not a college graduate. You don't have your diploma yet. And then you can tell them, look, okay, but by June, I will have graduated. Can I be hired in June? Can you guys wait for me by June? Or I can anticipate my diploma. I will talk to my coordinator in college. And then by next month, I will have graduated. I will have finished my course. So that's a difference in perspective. And sometimes that's what you want to say. You don't want to say that you will graduate next month. You want to say that by next month, you will have finished your college and you will be ready for your diploma, for the job. Okay, so the difference in perspective of the future perfect, it's once again, it's not a matter of like, I need this every single day of my life. Do I? No, you don't. You don't need this every day. If you needed this verb tense every day, it would be a basic verb tense. It's not a basic verb tense because it's not so commonly used. But when you do need it, it's the only way to express that idea specifically. Now, I want to show you visually how the future perfect works, compare it to the others. See, we have a reference of time now. We have a reference of time, the end of the week. All we know about the sentence is it's going to happen between now and the end of the week. That's all we know, and that's all we need to know. By the end of the week, I will have visited 5 countries. Okay. Between now and the end of the week, that action will be complete. That's all we need to know. By the end of the week, only in my dreams. Yeah, 5 countries in a week, right? Only for the king. So between now and the end of the week. Now tell me, what will you have accomplished or finished by the end of the month? We have 1 week left in the month. What will you have finished by the end of the month? Are there any projects that you're working on that, you have a deadline and you are sure that you will have finished that by the end of the month? What else? What other, let's say, yeah, but it can be a big project by the end of the month, or maybe by the end of the day. What will you have done by the end of the day? How many cups of coffee will you have had by the end of the day? 5, 7? You will have them in a day, right? I will have 5 cups of coffee today. Okay, perfect. You're focusing on the future. But by the end of the day, I will have had 5. For some reason, that information will be important for the future. So I look back on what is complete. Like the example of King Charles, of the trips. So now let me compare. Yeah, just to finish that idea here, because I think it's the most complex idea to understand. It is by the end of next Friday, what is going to come out of King Charles's mouth? Next Friday, he is going to be present, right? He's going to be saying, "Whew, finally, I've visited 5 countries. Mission accomplished." So the future perfect becomes the present perfect. He is in the present looking at the recent past. Whew, mission accomplished. I have visited the 5 countries that I needed. Now I can go home. See how they are connected. Well, from today until then, 5 countries. Next Friday, he will look back in the past and say, I have visited 5 countries. Woo, mission accomplished. Now let's take a look at the explanation here. Future perfect is used to project an action into the future. It's not about when it will happen. It's more about when it will be complete and over. What are you going to think about by the end of the week? By the end of the month? If you need to say that, if you're talking about a deadline, if you're talking about the limit in time for something to be complete, future perfect. Example, look, by the end of the month, this will need to have been done. You will have done that. I need you to finish this by the end of the month. So you can talk about it using the present, the future perfect, okay? It will have been done. Or if you want to promise to someone, to your boss, look, but this is taking too long. Okay, don't worry about it. By the end of the month, we will have finished, we will have it done. All right? We will have it ready for you. We will have finished the project, the phase, the task. Don't worry about it. Now, the most important part here of the class, in my opinion, starts right now. We are going to compare, and just let me do something here, you guys. If I can just close the comments for a while. I'm going to close the comments for a while just so you guys can visualize all of the timelines. Past perfect, King George. Past action before another past action. I don't know when it happened. It's not important when. What I know is something had happened before something else happened. That's it. No connection with the present. Nothing is happening now. There is no consequence to the present. Okay. So the limit is, I know that it happened between this action and this action. Before I arrived, right? Before I arrived, I had done something. It's right here. The action and the reference. And then I drag that into present perfect. Present perfect is, I don't know when the action happened. All I know is it happened in the past, before now. That's all I know. Present perfect simple. Okay, we're talking about present perfect simple. I have done, I have seen, I have worked, I've seen, I've done. So all I know is it happened before now. Recently, until now, just life experience. Third one, future perfect. All I know is it happened, will happen between now and the future. The action will be complete at some point, okay, between now and the future. By the end of the week, I will have done something. So it's not, you know, today, now, necessarily, right? It could be, I don't know, maybe if I work really hard, I'll finish whatever I'm planning. But the idea is between now and the deadline, by the end of the week. So I am sure that by the end of the week, the action will have been completed. So see, past, and then present perfect. Okay, before the present. Future perfect, by the end of the week, by the future, by the end of the month. So what are the references? Past perfect, before an action in the past. For, present perfect, recently, until now, life experience. Those are three great references. Just another one. And future perfect, by plus a sentence in the future, by the end of the week, by the time I graduate, by the time I get married, by the time my boss gives me a promotion, by the time, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So moving on now, I want you to test your English now. If you see, if your head starts a sentence with this phrase, by Christmas, let me turn on comments again. By Christmas, which verb tense are you going to use? Past perfect, I had done. Present perfect, I have done. Or future perfect, I will have done. Which one? By Christmas, that's future. So respond the question. What will you have done by Christmas? What will you have accomplished by the end of the year? Christmas is at the end of the year. So what are your plans for this year? And what do you expect you will have accomplished by the end of the year? By the end of the year, I will have moved to my new apartment. By Christmas, I will have had a baby. By Christmas, I will have changed jobs. What? Send questions in the comments. That's going to help you practice. That's going to help you exercise and get the verb tense out of you. If you don't use your voice, if you don't process language your own way, you are not going to transform your English. You need to process language yourself, not just hear my input and go, okay, I understand, I learned. Understanding and learning are two different things, okay? I want you to master and actively use those verb tenses. So now is the time for that. Make a sentence. What will you have done by Christmas? Great professional accomplishment, a big change in your life, personal or professional. All right? All right, so Marco wrote here, I will invite my family to spend time with me. Marco, I am not saying on Christmas. Good question here, Marco. Thanks for sending the sentence because it's a good opportunity for me to explain the difference. On Christmas, I will invite my family. They're going to happen at the same time. On Christmas, my family will be there. On Christmas, I will invite my family. What I'm saying is, by Christmas, Christmas is the limit. What is going to happen before Christmas? What will be completed before Christmas? For example, on Christmas, I will invite my family to spend time with me because I will have moved to a big house. Before Christmas, I will have moved to a big house. Next example, before I got my first job, which one am I supposed to, okay, Marco, which one am I supposed to use with this? Before I got my first job, sentence in the past. Which one? Let's go back to the timeline here. Past, before something happened. Which one am I supposed to use? Before I got my first job, I had done, I have done, or I will have done. Before I got my first job, example, graduate from college. Usually, I mean, that can happen or not, right? Of course not, but I mean, let's think about one possibility here. Graduated, I had graduated from college, I have graduated from college, or I will have graduated from college. Option number 1. Before I got my first job, I had graduated from college. So I'm going back in the timeline. Before I got, I had graduated. Okay, so repeat with me. Before I got my first job, I had graduated from college. Or I graduated from college. So you have the past and the past. Before I got my first job is a reference in the past, and then you have another action before that. Then we use past perfect. Now, many times in my life, which one should we use with this? Many times in my life. Let's go back to the 5 options. Before something happened, recently, until now, life experience, by the end of the month, by future. Which one? Many times in my life is life experience. So what am I going to say? You can make the sentence there. Something many times in my life. What have you done many times in your life? Present perfect. Oh, I have, I don't know, something simple. I have eaten sushi many times in my life. I have visited Egypt many times in my life. I have been disappointed by a boss or by bosses many times in my life. I have switched jobs many times in my life. Anything that you have done many times in your life, life experience. That goes for life experience. Present perfect. Another example here. By the beginning of the year. By the beginning of the year, that would be next year. Okay, life experience, math, that's it. So by the beginning of the year, which verb tense should I be using? I have done, I had done, I will have done. Which one? Future. By the beginning of the year, what will you have accomplished? Same as by Christmas. By the beginning of the year, I guess I will have finished my English course. By the beginning of the year, I will have moved to another country. By the beginning of the year, I will have finished my MBA. I will have graduated, from my MBA. Okay, so Mark, write sentences and read them out loud, okay? Read those sentences that you're writing out loud to practice your speaking as well. But writing sentences is a great exercise to process language, associating the time words with the verb tense. So by the beginning of the year, what will you have accomplished? Write it in the comments. Practice as well, okay? I will have done this. I will have accomplished that. Or maybe someone else will. My boss will have left the company by the beginning of the year. My boss will have retired. So you know that your boss is going to retire around September, October. Then what do? You say that for sure by the beginning of next year, he will have retired. He will have left the company. So someone else will be in his position. Next example, let's see what you guys can do with this one. When you bake the crooked cake, just to give you a tip, okay, when can also be substituted for before. And you can ask a question. This is a little far-fetched because it's an example that is harder to think of. But let's say, for someone thinking about forgetting the flour, or the baking powder. Baking powder would be best. The cake was like that. So when you baked the crooked cake, that would be about the past, or before that. I can ask, hey, so when you baked the crooked cake, had you put the baked baking powder? Did you forget about that? Had you done that? Or had you cooked before? Was that the first time? When you baked that cake, that weird cake, had you cooked before? That would be one example, okay? This is a crazy sentence. Crazy sentence. Let's just move on from this one because it makes zero sense. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, this is a good one. Just. When you think of just, when you think of recent actions in the past, what are you going to think about? Anything. Just 5 minutes ago, you're thinking about 5 minutes ago, 1 hour ago, 2 days ago, a week ago, something very recent that happened in your life very recently. Associate that. Oh, Renata, I can use simple past with that. You can, but it's not as idiomatic. And if you only use simple past, you are missing out on an opportunity to express yourself in a better way, in a more idiomatic way. Okay. So recently, what I had done, what are you going to say? I had done something. Example, I have just done, or I will have just done. I'm thinking about just as a recent past. Okay, just to make myself clear, because this class, I have to set the limit here. If I go beyond the limit too much, it's going to be too much information. So just in this class, I am considering that it's a recent past action. So I will say, I have just done something. Hey, I've just sent you the email. Could you check? Hey, I've just received the product, the shipping. I will, make sure that it's working fine. I don't know, I'm just thinking about a product arriving in my hands. So recent actions in the past, present perfect. I have just done something, or you don't have to say just, you're just thinking about recently, you're thinking about just, and you just say, I've done that. I've sent you the email. I've replied. I've seen John. Yeah. He was here 5 minutes ago. I've seen him. I've just run into him. I've just run into him at the cafeteria. Recent actions in the past, present perfect, just or recently. Okay. Good exercise. Good job. And remember, guys, make sure that when you are studying, when you are watching a class, whatever class that is, use your voice. Get the examples, pause the class, repeat the examples out loud. Make sure that the class is not only about the input that you're receiving, it's also about the output, the processing of the processing of that knowledge that you're receiving. So go back to this class in case you're like in the middle of your, your work day. Watch this class again. It will be saved here on Insta. It will be saved on YouTube. So you can access it again and make sure, to go through the input, repeat the sentences out loud, do the practice at the end, and ask any questions that you may have, all right, about these 3 verb tenses. So the idea would be to simplify them so you could visually understand what and when, what they are and when each of them can and should be used. In case you want to watch the continuation of this class, which is present, past, and perfect, present, past, and future perfect, continuous. I have been doing, I had been doing, I will have been doing. That class is already on YouTube. I will link that on stories to make sure that you guys, have that already. And it's a complement. You will understand the other ideas that you may already know, and you may be thinking, she didn't talk about these. It's because it's too much to talk about it in just one class. All right. So I will link that on stories. And anyway, thank you guys so much for joining in, for participating, for sending your examples. All right. So see you guys next time. And this was a request sent by a follower. And I love that request. Thank you so much for sending it. I think it was Bruno that sent that to us. And anyway, send your requests for the live streams, for the Fluent Live classes every week. And I will be happy to help you learn and teach you live here on YouTube and Insta. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great one. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye on YouTube and bye-bye on Insta. Bye-bye, everybody.